the supervisor I have the flu.
That new prediction comes as new infections of COVID-19 are exploding nationwide.
Now over to Arnie Pie with Arnie in the Sky.
Route 401 is going around and around and around and around.
Good afternoon from New York. We're coming on the air with breaking news that retired Los Angeles Lakers basketball star Kobe Bryant has been killed in a helicopter crash. It happened this morning.
A lot of people say you guys predicted Trump's run.
I know. We'll take credit for anything.
Simpsons predicted the future shot by shot because we're part of the Illuminati. Which is true. We are.
Okay, who wants waffles?
I do.
When it comes to The Simpsons, there's little doubt that they are a show that has outlasted pretty much every expectation put in front of them. Seriously, the show's been on for over 30 years. That doesn't just happen. But throughout its run, it's taken a number of stabs at the future of the world, from technologies that might be made to how we handle business to the state of cars and so on. And while a lot of things haven't happened yet, a lot has. Seriously, they predict a lot, right? But how are they able to do that? The team behind the show are happy to explain. But first, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Do you want to win a brand new iPhone or a brand new MacBook Pro? Maybe you'd prefer a $500 Amazon gift card. Well, comment the hidden message in this video for a chance to enter to win. Number 6, the writer's room. Let's start out with some of the obviousness of how they're able to get things right, or in this case, get things to right. Because as the team happily noted, it's not a one-man or woman show here. It's a lot of people coming together to make things work. You're in a room with 10 to 20 really funny people. Writer Al Jean tells Radio 1 Newsbeat he's been with Bart and the rest of the family since 1989 when the show began. So maybe the best thing is when Trump does something stupid and you've got a lot of people who can make jokes about it right away. But he says there are definitely a lot of distractions. There's so much going on in the world that we have to come in and talk about it. Stephanie Gillies, another one of the show's writers, noted. That's why I think we end up talking about the show a lot outside of work, because so much of what is going on in the world ends up on the show. And that right there is a key thing, because not unlike another animated series, South Park, the team behind The Simpsons do their best to go and make sure that things that happen in the fictional Springfield are relatable in part or in full to what's happening in the real world. A great example of this was the very accurate prediction about voting machines. After the 2000 presidential election debacle with Florida, there was a move to go and make voting machines electronic, which in certain ways makes sense because computers are better than paper, right? Well, wrong. And the Simpsons team knew it. They realized that these machines could have obvious programming flaws. So in the 2008 election time period, they did an episode where Homer voted for Barack Obama, but the machine said he voted for John McCain. 4 years later, in a 2012 election that honestly happened, someone voted for Obama, but instead it went to his opponent Mitt Romney. That's what happens when you put a lot of writers together in a room and have them talk about the world at large. You get ideas for how things can easily go wrong, and that's prime comedy. Number 5, they try to predict the future in certain cases. So given all that happens and how the Simpsons honestly do get a lot of things right, is it really all dumb luck and predictions based on what's going on in the world? At times, yes, and at other times, they're trying to predict the future. If you make enough predictions, then 10% will turn out to be right, Al suggests. We're sort of futurologists in that we write 10 months ahead, so we're trying to guess what's gonna happen, adds Stephanie. And that's a key admission right there. They're not just trying to write stories based on what's going on in the world or what is going to happen in the world like elections, but they're trying to make bold moves towards what they think will truly happen and could happen if things fall their way. And yeah, sometimes things just happen to go exactly as they predict. Like in one episode where they had a scrolling marquee showing that Greece was for sale because their GDP, and you fast forward a few years down the road and Greece's GDP plummeted to a level that matched what The Simpsons said. But like Al Jean said, if you make enough predictions, one is going to come true eventually, and they aren't alone in that thought. Number 4, trying to predict technology. There have been various episodes of The Simpsons that have gone beyond what you would expect in terms of their predictions coming true, but the one that many turn to is about technology, like in the episode Lisa's Husband, where they showed smartwatches, and this was in the 90s, long before such devices were possible, and yet they totally nailed it, even making the watch be able to take orders, which many super advanced watches can do. There have been other technological predictions over the course of the show that have come true and others haven't, but what's important to note here is that The Simpsons aren't trying to do something new and fresh, but rather following a very long trend that has been set by fantasy and sci-fi shows all over history. Because if you look at the various sci-fi TV shows, cartoons, and movies, you'll see that there were honestly lots of technological predictions that came true, or were the inspiration for them. A classic is Star Trek, who came up with their special communicators that were the literal inspiration for cell phones. Or how about drones? Numerous sci-fi movies and shows had drones in some form or another. same with AI, and on you go down this very interesting rabbit hole. But the reason we mention The Simpsons more than some other shows is honestly that it's more shocking The Simpsons predicted this and not someone else. They shouldn't have been the one to show smartwatches, and technically they weren't, but they're associated with it the most. But they were. Same with the voting machines episode. They're just following a pattern set before them, and they're happy to geek out and let predictions roll. Number 3, trying to warn others with predictions. Here's the other thing that needs to be noted here. The writers of The Simpsons know that they have a powerful show, and thus they go and try and do things that will not only make people laugh, but make them feel, like in the episode with Homer and his mother, or when Smart Homer happened and he left that note for Lisa, and so on and so forth. But they also see their show as a way to try and warn people about things that might happen if we're not careful. And the biggest example of that was their very accurate prediction of Donald Trump as president of the United States. Now, to be clear, he had stated before the episode, Bart to the Future, that he might run for president one day, but that was primarily in jest. Yet, when that episode came to be, the writers knew that they should put Trump in there for the most basic of reasons. It's funny and it's poignant. They even noted that it was beyond satire, and they did it because they were trying to show rock bottom for the nation, and who could possibly bring them that? And yet, Donald Trump was there making it easy to pick him up, and he has proven them absolutely right. Number 2, sometimes people stretch the truth a bit. Look, we've shown in these last few entries that when it comes to predictions, it's easy to get things right every once in a while when certain things line up. But when it comes to The Simpsons, especially in the year 2020, where a lot of predictions are believed to have come true, people will go and look for anything to connect to what The Simpsons showed so that it could be perceived as true, such as one time before 9/11 happened when The Simpsons went to New York and this happened. They bought a guidebook on New York that had the words $9 on it next to a picture of the Twin Towers, so it looked like 9/11, but it was coincidental, Al says, because of course it is. While The Simpsons team has shown death all the time on their show in a variety of hilarious ways, in no way would they want to try and predict something like 9/11, yet some try and make that connection. Another example is with the pandemic that has hit the world in 2020. Many have cited the Osaka flu episode as one that predicts this would happen, even pointing out that Springfield was put into a dome to try and contain it, which is not unlike states and nations have done in the abstract to seal themselves off from the world. Then when an episode said that Springfield was going to be blown up to get rid of the problem, Tom Hanks was brought in, yes really, to do a PSA for the crater that was Springfield and noted, "If you see me, please leave me be," which when he got sick via the pandemic, people took as another prediction come true, even though that's a stretch. Plus, the Osaka flu episode was made as a joke because it spread via a guy sneezing into a food box and getting it taken to Springfield where Homer gets infected after opening it. That's not how the pandemic started in our world. Now, to be clear, as we've shown, certain true predictions have happened with scary accuracy, but others can honestly be attributed to interpretations versus actually happening. Number 1, what comes next? So if you're the Simpsons team and you have made correct prediction after prediction, what exactly do you go and do now? That's a bit tough to ponder because we honestly don't know how much longer the show will go on. It should never have gotten this far, and yet it did. So, do they just count their blessings and just make more episodes? No, they go full tilt and they try and predict even more things. Granted, the more they get right, the more they're going to get praised as mystics or psychics or something of the like, and they really have predicted a lot of things, both big and small. But again, they're trying to predict the future in various ways. So with them on for 30 plus years of the show, they're not going to hold back now. Not with another election coming up, the world in lockdown, sports teams having to do things like bubble leagues and more. That's a lot of material to work with and future storylines to go and predict. So in short, yes, the Simpsons have predicted the future, and it's kind of cool, but don't go overboard with what that means. And there you have it, everyone, a look at the various aspects that have led to the Simpsons being right about the future more than you would like to admit. Which of these things do you find the most interesting in terms of how they're able to predict the future? Which of their predictions do you find the most ironic or iconic? Do you think they'll be able to predict things more in the future? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the channel.